Please like and subscribe, and if you would like to donate to my channel, my Cash App information will be in the description. Thank you for watching. Today's video, 5 people who went missing at the Rocky Mountains. Case number 1, Joe Halpern. He was born on September 11, 1910, to the parents of Solomon and Fanny Halpern. The family resided in Chicago. Joe graduated from the University of Chicago. He was a brilliant student, highly skilled astronomer and mathematician. During the summer of 1933, Joe worked in William Bay, Wisconsin. In August of that year, he and his best friend's brother Sam traveled to Colorado with Joe's parents. The group left Chicago in Joe's Ford sedan, with Joe doing most of the driving. The group drove through South Dakota's the Black Hills, then into Wyoming through Yellowstone National Park. They planned to camp at Glacier Basin Campground. Joe didn't have any hiking experience. Rocky Mountain National Park has more than 300 miles of hiking trails. Joe planned to hike up Flat Top Mountain Trail, a round-trip distance of 8.8 miles, roughly 6 hours to complete. On August 15, 1933, Joe parked his sedan in the parking lot of Bear Lake Trailhead. He began the journey to Flat Top Mountain, reaching the summit in the early afternoon. Joe wanted to continue hiking toward Taylor Peak, but his friend Garrick was tired. Sam later told Park Service the men had stopped west of the summit of Hallett Peak and almost half a mile south of Flat Top Trail. An unnamed witness told officials that he saw Joe and Sam bickering over whether to continue hiking or return to Bear Lake. Sam decided to return. The men parted ways around 2:30 p.m., intending to meet up later at Bear Lake Trailhead at 6:30 p.m. When Sam arrived, Joe was not there. Sam waited for 3 hours, and when Joe never showed up, he called for a park ranger. The search for Joe began that night around 10 p.m., with rangers using electric lights to see in the dark. More than 100 people continued searching over the next 6 days, but never found any trace of Joe. Temperatures at night would dip to around 40 degrees, and there had been rain and windstorms. A snowstorm hit on August 19, 1933. But the search continued. Joe was not dressed for the rough weather, but might have been able to seek shelter. However, as the search ended without finding Joe, it seemed more likely that he become lost and scrambled to the elements, or he slipped and fell into a crevice. Some feared he had been buried under a rock slide at Flat Top Mountain. Decades later, a relative of Joe was reading through his old letters that he had written in the early 30s. He wrote one letter about being tired of college and worried about money. Joe Halpern has never been found. Now I will give a description. Caucasian male, brown hair, brown eyes, date of birth 9/11/1910, 5'6", 165 pounds. If you have any information about this case, please contact Glendale Police Department at 303-759-1511. Case number 2, Rudi Moder. On February 13, 1983, Rudi Moder departed the Zimmerman Lake Trailhead on Colorado Highway 17 near Cameron Pass for a 2 to 3 day skiing trip into Rocky Mountain National Park. Rudi, a West German living in Fort Collins, was described as an experienced winter mountaineer. On February 19th, Rudi was reported overdue by his roommate. Search operations and further investigation were contacted, and search teams were in the field early on February 20th, 1983. Over a foot of snow fell in the Never Summer Mountains on February 19th. Search efforts in finding tracks and other clues. Belongings of Rudi Moder was found at the mouth of Box Canyon in the northwest corner of the park. A snow cave with Rudi's sleeping bag and other gear and items were found near the food cache. There was only one major clue discovered during the 4-day extensive search. Rudi was last seen outside of Rocky Mountain National Park at the Zimmerman Lake Trailhead. The extensive search efforts were coordinated by the Rocky Mountain National Park search and rescue teams. This included ground searchers on skis and snowshoes, as well as aerial search operations. The intensive search efforts continued for 4 days and ended on February 23rd. However, there were numerous search efforts by ground and air that occurred later that spring and summer. In mid-August 2020, skeletal remains were discovered by a hiker in the area. The area the remains were found were part of the search area. Rangers conducted an investigation at the scene but could not complete the investigation due to priority shifting to Cameron Peak Fire closing the area, followed by the East Troublesome Fire. Snow then covered the high elevation area above 11,000 feet. This summer, park rangers further searched the scene and found skis, poles, and boots, along with remains of personal items believed to belong to Rudi Moder. The FBI Evidence Response Team assisted park rangers with recovery of the remains. In the decades following Rudi Moder's disappearance, search efforts continued periodically by Rocky Mountain National Park staff and county search and rescue teams. The discovery and recovery of Rudi Moder's remains closes out nearly a 4-decade-long case at Rocky Mountain National Park. Rudi Moder disappeared February 13, 1983. His remains were found August 2020. Case number 3, Lucas Macaj. Lucas Macaj was reported overdue late Sunday night after attempting to summit Long Peak on Sunday, May 12, 2024. Lucas started from the Longs Peak trailhead early Sunday to Longs Peak via Keyhole route. Lucas was last heard from approximately at 1 p.m. Sunday, May 12, 2024, when he texted a friend indicating that he was on the summit of Long Peaks. Heavy storms moved through the high elevations in the park Sunday afternoon, the day Lucas went missing. Search efforts began on May 13th, Monday, and have included air support, ground teams, and dog teams searching the Long Peak Trail. On Thursday, May 16th, 2024, the body of Lucas Macaj, 23 years old, of Colorado Springs, was found near the base of Lamb Slide. Investigators indicated he took a significant fall. Rocky Mountain National Park Rangers completed an on-site investigation, and recovery operation took place by helicopter. His body was flown to a landing zone in Rocky Mountain National Park and transferred to Boulder County Coroner's Office. Lucas Macaj died unexpectedly while hiking Long Peaks in the Rocky Mountain National Park. Lucas was born on December 15, 2000 in San Diego, California. Lucas graduated from Martin High School in Arlington, Texas. Lucas happily served his country in 2 branches of the military, the United States Marine Corps and the United States Space Force. Case number 4, James Pruitt. James Pruitt was last seen on February 28, 2019, when he went on a day hike to an unknown location in the Rocky Mountain National Park. He left his car at the Glacier Gorge Trailhead parking lot and left to take his hike and never returned. On March 3, 2019, U.S. Park Rangers found his vehicle still in the Glacier Gorge lot with no sign of him anywhere and began a search for him. In the 3 days that he passed between Pruitt's disappearance and the time the search efforts began, over 2 feet of snow had fallen, removing any tracks that may have been there. In spite of intensive searching, no sign of Pruitt was found. His case remains unsolved, but he is presumed to have gotten lost or injured in the wilderness. Now I will give a description on James Pruitt. Went missing February 28, 2019. Caucasian male, 70 years old, 5'6", 150 pounds. He was last seen wearing a dark blue jacket, blue jeans, a reddish-orange beanie hat, ski goggles, and micro spikes on his shoes. If you have any information about this case, please contact Rocky Mountain National Park Services at 970-586-1206. Case number 5, Chad Pallansch. Chad Pallansch, 49 years old, of Fort Collins, Colorado, was reported missing on September 28, 2023. Park rangers confirmed his vehicle was still parked at the North Trailhead on the west side of the Rocky Mountain National Park. Chad was last heard from noon on Wednesday, September 27, 2023. Chad started from the East Trailhead near Grand Lake on Wednesday, September 27th. His reported hike was an expansive 28-mile route, which included traveling on established trails as well as off-trail travel through steep slopes. Potential travel areas included Lake Verna, Mount Alice, Chief's Head Peak, Black Lake, Miles Lake, and Flat Top Mountain. Chad had not attempted this route previously, but is an experienced trail runner who has run numerous routes in the park, including Long Peaks more than 30 times. Now I will give a description on Chad Pallansch. Chad is described as 5'7", 155 pounds with brown hair and blue eyes. He is described as a fit runner with both trail running and marathon experience. He is likely wearing a black ultralight jacket, black running shorts or leggings, or gray fanny pack. Chad has personal navigation with him, but the device was not designed for emergency assistance. If you have any information about this case, please contact Rocky Mountain National Park at 970-586-1206.